Let's get ready to rumble!
I don't know. They be just very. That's what the 80s was, in your face. 80s were in your face. And that's how the fighters were. We were just in everybody's face.
It wasn't no social media.
What did I say? Social media has made it easy for the likes of Errol Spence to duck Terence Crawford almost religiously. Social media. So Jermall had some points about Mike. It's not the same anymore. And he was right. Because you don't have to go out there and call somebody out. You don't have to go out there and extend yourself. You got your little fan base who will cap for you and do damage control for you. And then you can make out that like you're the baddest man in the weight class or in the world. But in all truth, you're shit scared to fight Terence Crawford. And you get mad when Blair Cobbs calls it out. And you want to call him some kind of weirdo. Well, Blair is a fucking weirdo. But it doesn't mean that the weirdo didn't speak truth. So when Mike was fighting Mitch Green at Dapper Dan's, shortly after beating him in the ring, 10-round decision, shit was real. Mike broke his right hand, I believe, and Mitch had to wear that swelling on his eye.
It's not like it was when you was coming up in boxing, like, I got to go through managers.
Oh, you said, listen, you just start talking.
This guy, he has never attempted to make a negotiated fight with somebody outside the PBC. Oh, you don't know what it's like. You've got to go through managers. This guy was offered, now I don't know if it was 7 million, but Eddie Hearn said a similar deal on the table for Mikey Garcia, a one-off deal at the Zone to fight Andrade, a unification. So if they put up 7 million for Mikey, he was going to get a similar purse. He's never earned $7 million on the PBC yet, but yet either he declined it or Al Heyman declined it. And if Al Heyman declined it, that makes it even worse because Jermall likes telling us that he's his own boss. So why do you have to go through management if you're your own boss? Right? So don't be telling me you've got to do all this and struggle to get fights when the fights have been put on your lap. Multi-million-dollar unifications have been put on your lap by Eddie Hearn.
Cause I ain't trying to hit.
Jermall telling Mike Tyson that he didn't have to go through management in his day. Let's talk about Mike. He wasn't signed to Don King when Clayton and Jacobs were negotiating for Mike to get in the tournament without signing him over to Don King. Mike's career had to go through the process of politics, like all boxers' careers. Muhammad Ali. Ali beat Liston for the title, and they stripped Ali almost immediately because he was going to grant Liston a rematch. They had some bull crap rule where you supposedly wasn't allowed to rematch a newly deposed champion. But listen, they didn't like Liston. Ali had just joined the Nation of Islam, and you had the Chicago mob who controlled Ernie Terrell. That WBA belt ended up where? In Ernie Terrell's hands. So Ali was going to unify against Terrell. The fight got cancelled several times because of Terrell's ties to the Chicago mob. Eventually they got it on, some 3 years later, after Ali was stripped, and Ali got his belt back. You know, Mike was trying to school this kid. Look, Spinks was on the other side of the street. He was Showtime. Mike was HBO. Michael Spinks didn't want to fight Mike Tyson. He avoided the tournament and gave up his belt rather than fight in the tournament. But the public wanted to see that fight, and eventually Spinks had to cross to the Mike Tyson side of the street. Mike is the biggest draw in boxing. This is where you go. Ring Magazine, Lineal Championship, Undisputed Championship. And what did Mike say? Mike said, yo, unless you get me that fight there, I'm not going to fight no one else. And he was serious. But, like I was saying today, listen, if you go listen to my weekly, a lot of stuff that I was talking about is tying into all what Mike and Jermall and the basketball player were talking about on the podcast. And I didn't see the podcast until after I put my weekly out. All right? Showtime weren't going to try and argue that Mike Spinks is a bigger draw than Mike Tyson. There wasn't no network egos getting in the way. They knew Mike was the draw. The fight has to go on HBO. Simple. And the truth is, it's the PBC whose fighters get great offers for some very good fights, and they decline the fights without coming back with no counter offers, or any real legit reasons why they're not taking the fights in the first place.
Like Charlo, 32-0, great fighter, undefeated world champion. Demetrius, 31-0, undefeated world champion. 2 Americans. What's wrong with the sport, you know? Like, do it on their platform. I don't care. Like, this is not about Matchroom or DAZN. This is about Demetrius Andrade and getting this guy the opportunity that he deserves. And he deserves to create a legacy.
What obstacles were being presented in front of Charlo for not taking the fight? Trying to con Mike like Mike is so out of touch with the politics of boxing. If you sounded pathetic trying to get over a Mike like that, you can put it on any platform you want. DAZN, PBC.
What's wrong with the sport, you know? Like, do it on their platform. I don't care. Like, this is not about Matchroom or DAZN. This is about Demetrius Andrade. And
only for Tim Clown, or if you like, you can spell it Brown, to reply, of course Hearn wants Andrade off his platform because nobody wants to see Andrade fight. So hold on. Eddie makes an offer for Charlo to fight Andrade on DAZN, a big offer, more than what Jermall's ever earned. And then when Eddie says, well, you can put it on your platform, your reply is, of course, he doesn't want Andrade on the platform. So let's get this right. Eddie Hearn makes an offer, you don't make a counter offer, and then you accuse Eddie of not wanting to accommodate his fighter. That's why Eddie is pushed into this situation, and Andrade. Andrade has to leave the zone now. And this shit is messed up, really. It's messed up. Beats, you're an Eddie Hearn shill. No. You play too many games. Eddie has done all he can as a promoter to make several fights. But because some of you don't like Eddie and you want to play this game, oh, look, Eddie can't promote. When he's made offers, no counter offers are coming back. And the rival promotion or network are basically making it impossible for Eddie to do his job, which is to put on fights, which you, if you are a boxing fan like you claim you are, should be happy about. But it's not really about that. You would rather see Eddie Hearn fail than these fights be successfully negotiated. Then you want to call people shills and Matchroom fanboys and shit like, you're just faggots, man. Seriously, it's just faggotry.
The promoters, the TV networks.
You do realize it's not up to most fighters no more.
That's what I'm saying.
That's the whole
fighters.
thing.
It's like the network.
No, I had to fight against Spinks. We had different networks, and I said no. And Lennox Lewis too. I said, if I'm not doing nothing unless I fight him. That's all you have to do. Both fighters say, I'm not fighting nobody unless I fight him. I'm not fighting nobody. Strip the belt from me. If I'm not fighting him, I'm not fighting nobody. That's what happened to people who got the belt stripped, just to fight each other.
But it's different now.
Yeah, no, it don't have to be different.
Yeah, they got
a lot of belts out there.
Jermall is a liar about it's not the same. You know, you do realize the networks and promoters. This guy's on the PBC. You haven't fought Plant. You haven't fought Benavidez. All PBC fighters on the same network. What network politics are there if you're on the same network as Plant and Benavidez? The Munguia fight falls through. So you think to yourself, okay, well, you've got Adames there. He's on the same side of the street as Jermall, PBC. He cleaned up Derevyachenko in a WBC eliminator. Jermall is WBC champion. So Adames on the same side of the street wins the WBC eliminator. Granted, it wasn't a final eliminator, but an eliminator nevertheless. So who does Jermall fight? He fights Selecki, the Polish boxer who's been beaten and outclassed by Jacobs.
Did you watch the performance with Jermall Charlo?
Yeah, good fight.
Okay, because I know you guys have a potential fight the fight fans want to see.
Right,
it kind of died out, but he's thirsting for opponents.
Okay.
Do you think the time is now right for that fight, maybe?
Well, you know, actually, what people don't know is that we really tried to fight Charlo in this last fight. So.
Wait, you tried to fight Charlo in his last fight?
We tried.
Breaking news.
We tried, but to no avail. And this time, you know, obviously he has a lot more things going on in his career. He has to do what's best for him. And it's to, no hard feelings for me. I'm moving on to do what's best for myself. So we have big plans that I can't yet reveal, but we got something working and we got something cooking.
There's Jacob saying that Charlo avoided him to fight Montiel. Everywhere you turn, there's receipts on this guy ducking fights. So Selecki lost to Jacobs and Andrade. Two fighters that Charlo has avoided, and then Charlo's next defense is against Selecki. It's a horror story, actually, for American boxing. Since Zelecki lost to Andrade in 2019, he managed a 10-round decision against Sasha Yangoroson, whoever he is, 44-7-1. And then his next fight against Masudi, another decision. Masudi had a record of 17-15-1. And this is who Jermall Charlo is going to defend his title against. In 2022, is Zelecki a better fight for Jermall Charlo than Adames? And he's coming on Mike Tyson's broadcast saying, it's all managers and you don't know what we got to go through today, Mike.
He want all the belts, y'all.
At the end of the day, that's what we're looking for. We want all the belts.
The results came back all the same, and they came back that
Jermall told the truth.
did not tell the truth.
It's all about marketing though now, Mike. It's all about marketing though now, Mike.
These guys don't understand boxing history. They think marketing is it's all about marketing now, like the wheel's just been invented. Mike Tyson was the original template for boxing marketing in the 80s. And obviously Mike, great fighter, but Jim Jacobs and Clayton were very good at their job. Make no mistake, and cuss. So they recorded all of Mike's early fights. Then when Mike got to a certain plateau, his step-up fight was on ESPN against Jesse Ferguson. And they sold ESPN all of Mike's previous fights. Nobody was doing that at that time there. It might not seem like nothing now. But Caton and Jacobs made knockout reels from Mike's fights that they recorded. They sent them out to media outlets, newspapers, magazines, and anyone with influence, and Mike blew up. But marketing is great, but are you trying to be undisputed champion is the whole point? Or what's the point of all that marketing? Talking about Ryan Garcia on Twitter. Who cares? What's Ryan doing? Is Ryan challenging Kambosos or Lomachenko? Is he trying to top all the belts? Approaching the end of the podcast, Mike asked Jermall, is there anyone specifically you want to call out though? After Jermall gave them all his internet details, I want to do this and that. And he said, anyone with a belt I want to fight. Well, that doesn't include Andrade, does it? You didn't fight him. At this stage, Mike was just humouring Jermall because the conversation became a joke, really, in terms of the mentality of a PBC fighter to an American fighter from the 80s or 90s. It's just like ridiculous. So Mike would say, well, who would you like to call out? Benavidez? And Jermall kind of half-heartedly, yeah. When there was a window to fight Benavidez, let's say summer last year, and when the smoke started to look serious, Jermall backed down and said, I'm not moving to 168. He can come down and fight me at 160. I'm not giving up my belt. So are you going to give up your belt to fight Canelo? Because Canelo ain't coming back down to 160. Even Golovkin knows he's got to move up to 168 if he wants the trilogy fight with Canelo. Like, I don't know, PBC, Charlo fan base, how can I take you serious when you say he's a credible challenger for Canelo when he's too scared to jump out of 160 to fight Benavidez? He doesn't even have to give the belt up. Just makes excuses for everything. This is the type of fight you're defending. Jermall talking about, calling people out, you might scare the fighter or the promoter away. Absolute nonsense, man. Absolute nonsense. Before social media, way before social media, light heavyweight champion Archie Moore printed up a whole load of posters. Wanted, reward for capture and delivery of Rocky Marciano to any ring in the world for the purpose of defending his heavyweight championship against the logical contender Archie Moore. Reward, the boxing public will see a great fight and witness the crowning of a new champion. Advise, Sheriff Archie Moore. Archie sent these to newspapers all around the country. He didn't call Rocky no bum, no N-word, no swearing. It was classy and it was effective. And let's not get it twisted. Archie wasn't just begging for a title shot like Jermall or Benavidez, yeah? He beat Nino Valdez in an eliminator to fight Marciano. Archie got his title shot. Great fight. He knocked down Marciano. Marciano floored him about 4 or 5 times, I believe. And that was Marciano's last fight. He won by stoppage, 9th round. What it is, as well, if you look at how Jermall and his brother, at least his brother fights decent opposition, and Adrian Broner fought decent opposition, but they've got this kind of childish disposition, the way they speak, Jermall. If you listen to how Jermall speaks compared to Mike Tyson, like when Mike's talking to Jermall, He's breaking down the etymology of the word affirmation and how this guy, all them years ago, is given credit for his theory of your self-value being based on how you really feel about yourself. If you feel you're the best at whatever it is, and you're the best, and if you feel you're the worst, then that's what you'll be. Mike was breaking it down, and he likes showing off like that. So he takes pride on knowing philosophy, boxing knowledge. Might not want to come off of some ghetto again who, yeah, I'm from Brownsville, dude, and that's all you've got. Jermall is just like, ooh. Jermall, not much better, but he fights decent opposition. If Jermall is going to come off like he did on that podcast, at least fight some decent opposition to divert the fact that you are not an engaging personality. Errol Spence, horrible interview. Was it Regis Prograrius? He has a very childlike disposition as well. When he's playing with Yellow Beezy, it just leaves you kind of weirded out watching it. Tank Davis, childlike disposition. Horrible interviews. Adrian Broner, he has the childlike disposition, but he's actually quite entertaining interviews. In a perhaps maybe not so complimentary way, inadvertently, he's quite entertaining. And he always fought good fights. He fought good fighters. Say what you like about Adrian Broner, he fought some good opposition. He didn't become the next Mayweather or nothing like that, like he promised to be, but he fought way better opposition than what Jermall is fighting currently. And I was talking about Archie Moore earlier. Extremely articulate individual. One of the most articulate boxers. Great to listen to. And obviously, phenomenal resume. One of the best ever.